Hey friends, welcome back to the GODSPEED Garage. Today's episode, the saga continues, trying to work out the issues I'm having with the Sniper EFI. So as you probably saw in the last episode, my truck it seemed like it was getting worse and worse the more I drove it. And so I did everything I could. I read all kinds of forums, gave my engine a tune-up, messed with the system a little bit to see if I could richen it up or lean it out. And I pretty much narrowed it down to the fuel system. So I hooked up the return line in the last episode and the issues were still the same. I'm getting really high fuel pressure and it's backfiring like crazy and kind of sputtering and cutting out when I hit it at wide open throttle. So installing the return line properly probably helped. Venting my gas tank probably helped, but it didn't fix the issue. So I got on the phone with HOLLEY, told them what was going on, and they said to undo the return line and just run a straight hose into a gas tank, making sure there's no restriction. And so I did that and it was still running the same. Then they said to take off the pressure regulator and check to see if that little screen is clogged, because sometimes on old gas tanks or during the install process, sometimes it can get gunked up. So I did that, I cleaned it all out, put it back all together, and it still wasn't working. So when I called them back, they were saying that it's probably a bad pressure regulator and they're just gonna send me a whole new one. How awesome is that? That's good customer service, so good job, HOLLEY. But check this out, they didn't just send me a new kit, they 2-day aired it to me so I can get this thing going and get it running really quickly. And here's what they sent me. They sent me this pressure regulator. It came with a new O-ring gasket and a new screen filter and a new regulator plate, because on some of the earlier models of Sniper units, the machining on that plate was a little off and it wasn't letting the pressure regulator diaphragm work the way it was supposed to. So they just sent me a whole new plate and everything. So let's compare the two housings. Here's the old one and here's the new one. The only difference that I can see between the two is this rubber piece in the middle, this little bumper. You can see on the new one it's hollow and it is quite a bit shorter too. If you're looking at it dead on. When I put the two pieces together, you can really see the difference. So it gives a little bit more room for that diaphragm on the pressure regulator to move in and out. Still backfiring. Wonder if this engine needs to be gone through. Sometimes you just need to smile and drink coffee. Don't you love hot riding? Good times. We're having fun. So after hooking up the return line back to the tank and buttoning everything up pretty much to where it's right, where it should be for this to be done and running, and as you saw, it didn't really make much of a difference. It's still backfiring. I think this engine might have some issues though. I don't know if you heard on the video or not, but you can hear it's kind of starting to knock a little bit, which kind of makes me worried. So I think this engine needs to be gone through, so unfortunately I think it's got to come out. This job just got a lot bigger. Seems like the pressure is holding pretty steady though. I mean, even though it's 80, maybe it's just that gauge. Maybe I should hook another gauge up to it and get a second opinion on a different gauge. Regardless, that engine's got to come out because it doesn't sound good. So when I pulled the plugs out of that motor, you can see every single one of them is fouled. Tons of carbon means it was probably running really rich. And no doubt it wasn't getting any spark, so unspent fuel causes detonation, and that was that god-awful backfiring noise. And I'm wondering if that really high fuel pressure caused it to run rich, even though the air fuel mixture was good on the control unit. That's bizarre. I'm obviously missing something. So out with this new engine, and the old engine is going back in. I'm gonna give the old engine a quick once over just to make sure it still is gonna run and work and everything, and put that in here. Just hopefully that'll fix the issue, because I got some drag racing to do on the 4th of July. I gotta defend my crown. So after driving this for a few weeks and putting this motor through its paces like the way I do, it still didn't seem like it was running right. Even at the drag races, it kind of topped out and I wasn't able to push it past like 90. So something doesn't seem quite right. And with the gauge reading 80, it feels like it's still too high. So I got back on the phone with HOLLEY and told them everything that I did and how they sent me a new pressure regulator, and that one still is reading pretty high and everything. So they, again, 2-day aired me a new regulator and a new plate, and they said to really be careful when you install the regulator not to push too hard on the middle of it. That's what that little rubber bumper is for. It pushes on the middle of the pressure regulator, and if it pushes too hard, it'll actually kind of move the thin metal of the regulator and it'll distort it just enough to make it not at the correct PSI. So those things apparently are adjusted to be exactly 58.5 to 60 PSI. And if you push on it too hard, you might distort it. So I installed the new one that they sent me, being really careful not to push on the middle of the regulator. And I installed it and fired it up, and what do you know? We're right at 58.5. So seems like the issue is fixed. Winter is coming, and I'm gonna be driving this thing for a little while longer unless the weather gets bad. So I'm gonna kind of keep putting it through its paces. I'm hoping that this actually fixes the problem. But so far, so good. So again, thank you so much for watching. If this helps you out at all, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.